Yo, what's going on out there? It's Larry coming to you again with another Blazing Sports Report. We're about 2 weeks away from the NBA playoffs. That means everybody's jockeying for position. We pretty much know the teams who are going to be in there. We just don't know the seedings quite yet. What I'm going to discuss right now is basically for the real contenders, if you will, in these upcoming NBA playoffs. I'm going to give you my pluses, my minuses on who I think can actually win it all. And in my opinion, there are only 6 teams who have a legitimate chance of winning it all. 3 from the West, 3 from the East. The 3 from the West, I know a lot of people may give me like some heat for this, but I really don't care. It's my opinion. The Los Angeles Lakers are the 3rd team. The number 2 teams, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the number 1 team is San Antonio Spurs. In the East, Boston Celtics, Chicago Bulls, and the Miami Heat. I will go Heat 3, Celtics 2, Chicago 1. Let's start off with my number 3. I'm going to start off with the West and tell you why I'm going to give these guys. Basically, what I'm going to tell you is why they can win it, what they need to do to win it, and the problems that they have heading into the playoffs in terms of what they need to do in order to get it together and actually to be considered like a legitimate contending team. When I look at the Los Angeles Lakers, first of all, they have Kobe Bryant. That's hands down, first of all, what you need to know. Kobe Bryant is on the team. Andrew Bynum has stepped his game up tremendously this year. He's having a career year all across the board. The one downside to all this is Pau Gasol has kind of lost his place in this rotation, if you will, or in the lineup, if you will, in terms of running this new offense that Mike Brown has brought in. Even though it's been documented as saying that Mike Brown just controls the defense, he lets Kobe run the offense, which I still think is a dumb idea. You need to bring in an offensive mind on the bench to actually help institute something. But it seems like without that triangle offense that they used to run when Phil was there, Pau Gasol has kind of been lost in translation, and it's been more Kobe taking shots than anything else. Why I think they can win it? Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum. You got 2 7-footers. One is a beast on the inside, bullies, blocks shots, rebounds, does all that good, dirty stuff. He's young, he's hungry, but he is immature. The other 7-footer is skilled, athletic. He can create for himself. He can create for others because he has incredible passing vision in Pau Gasol. Then you have Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant as always has that never say die attitude, never give up attitude. He does have his litany of injuries, though. We know about the shin right now that's keeping him out. He's been playing through the finger of pain and all that other stuff. He's leading the league in scoring. I mean, what more can you say about the guy? What they need to do before they get to the playoffs is figure out how can they control Andrew Bynum. As we all know, Andrew Bynum has been a hothead as of late. His immaturity level has re-emerged, I guess you can say, as showing that he cannot be somebody who you can rely on night in and night out to be, I guess you could say, a lot of people want to throw him in as the second best player on this team. So that means with Kobe Bryant out, that means he has to be the number 1 guy on this team, but he doesn't have that maturity level to actually legitimately lead a team, in my opinion. The man is a hothead. It seems like no one on this team that has any legitimate credibility as a star does not respect Mike Brown. And with that simple fact, Mike Brown, I don't think that he is the coach for this team. Now, do I think they can pull it all together before these playoffs start? Like I said, it starts with this guy Mike Brown. I've never been a fan of Mike Brown's, even when he was in Cleveland. He had LeBron James, but he didn't have anything else, and we all seen the offense was really LeBron James versus the world. And that's kind of what it's turned into here in LA. It's been Kobe Bryant versus the world. I don't think that formula is going to work here in LA either, even though Kobe Bryant does have better talent surrounding him. They got rid of Lamar Odom, who was a key cog in their offense, but they did bring in Ramon Sessions at the trade deadline, but they got rid of a veteran leader in Derek Fisher. I mean, there's so many gives and takes with this team. You really don't know which team is going to show up. It's really going to depend on whether Bynum can get his head on straight, whether Pau Gasol can find himself a way to integrate himself into the offense better, because right now Pau Gasol looks like a lost puppy out there, and Kobe Bryant has to be the guy who gets in everybody's face. We remember the spat when Mike Brown took him out the game. He didn't talk to anybody on the bench. He didn't look at anybody on the floor. He was highly upset. And we all know Kobe wants to compete. There's too much dissension in this team right now to pencil them in as Western Conference favorites. But do they have the ability and the talent to do so? Yes, they do. They do have the ability and talent to get to the Western Conference Finals, maybe even the NBA Finals. But it all depends on whether or not these guys can pull it together as a unit. Because right now there's a lot of dissension in this team. Moving on to the number 2 team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City is a very dynamic team. They have a perimeter defender in Thabo Sefolosha. They have 2 MVP candidates in Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. They have interior defense with Serge Ibaka and Kendrick Perkins locking down guys. You got James Harden who comes off the bench. The team is a very, very dynamic team. You have a couple of key role players and guys like Nick Collison and Daquan Cook. But they have so much young talent on this team. There's not really that one guy who you can really consider the veteran leader on the team. Now, they did bring in Derek Fisher, who will help out tremendously, but he'll only help out in the locker room in terms of a mental aspect. He's not going to really go out there and do nothing on the floor. And on the floor is where a lot of their problems take place. The Oklahoma City Thunder in the half-court offense, they're really stagnant. When you watch the Oklahoma City Thunder in the half-court offensive set, what I see in that team is I see guys who they're so dynamic that they rely so much on their athleticism that the skill factor of what needs to happen in the half court doesn't necessarily show up. Am I saying they can't execute in the half court offense? I'm not saying that, but they do have a lot of troubles. With a team as young and athletic as Oklahoma City Thunder are, they can get up and down the court. They get most of their scoring coming off of fast breaks, transition points, transition offense. They're great in transition defense as well. Serge Ibaka is leading the league in blocks right now, if I'm not mistaken. But when it comes to that half-court game, you have 2 viable options. Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant. Now, a lot of people are giving Russell Westbrook a lot of heat because he takes so many shots during the game. Here's my thing. In Miami, you have D-Wade and LeBron James. Both guys, high volume shooters. Both guys demand the ball. Both guys are legitimate MVP candidates for their team. Why can't it work with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant? In my opinion, it can work for the simple fact you have an extra dynamic to your team in the half-court offense on who do you defend. Because if Westbrook is hot, he's going to draw more attention than Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant you don't want to leave alone. And vice versa, if Kevin Durant is hot, you have to give more attention to him, but you don't want to leave Westbrook alone. It leaves them to be a more dynamic offense. I don't see why people are giving Westbrook so much heat for taking so many shots, because the man is capable of knocking down shots. That's like saying if D-Wade wasn't the man in Miami and LeBron James was, everybody's going to be like, oh, you can't make LeBron James the man in Miami. D-Wade has been here a lot longer. We respect D-Wade a lot more than we respect LeBron James. When those guys are taking a lot of shots, I mean, when you look at the offensive output of the Miami Heat, most of the points are predicated through LeBron James and D-Wade. The same thing is happening in Oklahoma City. I don't know why so many people are making a big deal out of Russell Westbrook taking so many shots. He can do it. The man has the ability to do it. It adds an extra dynamic to the team. And I think that will help them out in the playoffs more than anybody else, because you do have that dynamic on that offense. Now, you also have James Harden on the bench. Everybody's saying James Harden is the best playmaker on the team. Well, I haven't seen much of Harden's playmaking ability, but I have seen him manage a game a lot better than Russell Westbrook can. Everybody wants to throw Russell Westbrook into this point guard conversation. He's not a point guard. Russell Westbrook is a guard. I mean, you can put him at the 1 or the 2. It doesn't matter. If you put him at the 1, he's like another Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose doesn't have the facilitating abilities of a Rajon Rondo or Steve Nash, but yet he's still thrown into the point guard conversation when he's mainly a scorer. Russell Westbrook is the same thing. He's a scorer. He can shoot, he can attack the basket, he can defend. The man is mad athletic. And I think he will be the true X factor for these guys heading into the playoffs. That is pretty much the plus and the minus for this team is who do you give the ball to at the end of the game? Is it Westbrook? Is it Durant? It's unquestionably Durant. Durant has made bigger shots. He's a better shooter. He can create for himself, and he can also create for others when he draws the attention. Now, they have the defense in Ibaka down low to protect the paint. Durant has improved his defensive abilities. He's long, he's lanky. Like I said, they have Cephalosha. They have the pieces, but the thing is executing in the half-court offense. Will they be able to do that? We don't know. We'll see. Moving on to the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs, to me, are the number one team in the Western Conference for the simple fact they've been there. They're veterans. They know what it takes. The only question that always surrounds them is the health issue. And everybody seems very healthy. They added Steven Jackson. They added Boris Diaw, who's a friend of Tony Parker's, who has looked like he's he actually getting himself in a better shape in San Antonio than he was in Charlotte. And I really can't blame him for that because Charlotte Bobcats, we all know where they are in the NBA. But when I look at this San Antonio Spurs team, there's really no decline that I can see for this team outside of people talking about their age. Well, age isn't really a determining factor for me because in the game of basketball, it's all about execution. If guys know how to execute, if they know how to play the game of basketball, if they can run their offense, then I don't see why you can discount these guys just because of their age. They've been there. They know what it takes. They know what they need to do. My thing is, when I look at this San Antonio Spurs team, there really isn't a negative for this team. They can execute in the half court. They can push the ball up and down the court. They have guys who know their roles on the team. Matt Bonner is a shooter. Steven Jackson is coming in to help execute on offense. Manu Ginobili is a scorer. Tony Parker is a facilitator. He drives and attacks the paint. Tim Duncan is Tim Duncan, the best power forward we have ever seen in this game, period. You have Kawhi Leonard, who's been great as a rookie this year. Gary Neal comes in. He contributes for this team. Danny Green, he comes in. He's been a lost gem. When he came out, everybody didn't think he was going to be able to do anything. Then Greg Popovich got a hold of him, and now look at Danny Green. He's a key factor. Then you still have DeJuan Blair. You have Tiago Splitter. That's 10 guys that I just named right there. That lets you know that there's a lot of depth on this team that can carry them further into the playoffs than people want to give them credit for. The San Antonio Spurs, to me, are the best team. When I say that word, listen to it carefully. The best team in the NBA right now. There's not a weakness on this team that I can see right now. People want to throw the age out there. That's not really a factor for me. These guys know what they want to do. They have a good mix of young and old on the team. Like I said, for them, it's all about staying healthy. You got Greg Popovich on the sideline running things, a guy that everyone respects on this team, who everybody knows on this team, who everybody has learned from on this team. Probably the best coach in the NBA right now is Greg Popovich. I don't really see how you can discount this team from anything. Everybody wants to throw age out there. Age isn't a factor for this team. They've been there. They know what it takes. They know how to battle. They have guys who can do what they need to do when they're supposed to do it. This team is deep. It's ready. People want to give them a lot of heat for resting players. You got to remember this. Their first 11-game win streak, it was stopped because they rest their main guys. Then they went on another, I think it was 11-game win streak. They've won on the road. They defend their home court. And that streak was ended when they left their main guys at home. That lets you know that this team is very complete with all these guys on the team. There's no question that the San Antonio Spurs can't win it all this year. And mark my words, I don't care what people say. You can throw the favorites out there. You can throw the LeBrons and the Heats out there. You can throw the Bulls and the Derrick Roses out there. If you know the game of basketball, then you know that the San Antonio Spurs are a legitimate team to be reckoned with, period. Moving on. Now we go to the Eastern Conference. My third team, Miami Heat. Why do I put them third? Why do I put Boston ahead of the Miami Heat? Well, I'm going to tell you why I put Boston ahead of Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are struggling right now. It's well documented. They can't win on the road against tough opponents. Boston has beaten them handedly within the last week or so, both at home and on the road. This Miami Heat team is they're saying D Wade has said we're just waiting for the playoffs to come on because we can get it started right then. Miami Heat need home court advantage. They need to try to win as many games as possible and hope that Chicago loses. Because if they don't have that number one spot heading into the NBA playoffs, they're not going to win anything. My thing is this. LeBron James, last night, well documented against Chicago, he disappeared yet again in the fourth quarter. D Wade got hot in the fourth quarter. Why they didn't keep giving him the ball, I don't know, but they didn't do it, so that's a whole nother story. But when I look at this Miami Heat team, it's D Wade and LeBron James and everyone else. I'm not throwing Chris Bosh into the equation because Chris Bosh sometimes looks lost out there on the offensive end. We all know that he's not a great defender. He's long enough to where he can, I guess you could say, pester people. But when it comes to just legitimately defending somebody one-on-one, Chris Bosh can't do it. This is a team who plays great team defense. I'm not taking that away from them. They play great team defense. But just like the Oklahoma City Thunder, just like the Chicago Bulls, when it comes to that half-court offense, they're a little bit ahead of what Chicago can do in terms of what Oklahoma City can do, because D Wade is a playmaker, LeBron is a playmaker. But the thing is, they're role players. They have to step up. They were exposed last night by the Chicago Bulls with a lack of depth on the bench. You bring in guys like Shane Battier, like Eddie Curry, like Mike Miller. You bring in these kind of guys. Mike Miller is a one-dimensional player. He's a shooter. That's what he does, and he's always injured now. Shane Battier is a defender and a shooter. But the thing is, Shane Battier isn't going to get minutes over LeBron James because LeBron James could go out there and play 46 minutes a game. So Shane Battier is just pretty much a moot point. Norris Cole came on hot early on in the year, but then he cooled off. So now LeBron James is playing backup point guard. Mario Chalmers, he hasn't been that steady cog, if you will, of what they needed at the point guard position. Therefore, D Wade and LeBron James has to take care of more of the ball handling abilities. My thing is, when I look at this team, you have two guys and then you have a bunch of role players who either don't know their roles or can't execute their roles well enough to be trusted by the coach, who is, in my opinion, is not a real competent coach to begin with. Eric Spoelstra, to me, has never been what I would consider a go-to coach. I'm not doubting the man's knowledge on the game of basketball, but in terms of being an NBA head coach, I don't trust him. When I look at what this team does offensively, it's sometimes mind-boggling to me that you can have two of the premier guys in the whole NBA, and you have Chris Bosh, who is probably a top 20 guy in the NBA. I will not put him in the top 10, but he's top 20, top 25, if you will, in the NBA. Who to me, they don't know how to integrate this man in the offense, which is kind of confusing to me because we all know that the one thing that's been missing from this team has been an inside presence. I'm not calling Chris Bosh an inside presence by no means, don't get me wrong here. But Chris Bosh, to me, is so lost in this offense that they don't post him up enough, first of all, for him to be a power forward in this game. He still settles way too much for jump shots. They still lack an inside presence. And for him to be the X factor, that means he has to step his game up tremendously, which I don't see him doing. Not in late game situations, not in early game situations. He has had a couple of games this year where he has put up some good numbers, but the thing is, on a consistent basis, do I see them going to Chris Bosh to look for legitimate help in the playoffs? I don't see that happening. My thing is, for me, with this Miami Heat team, it comes down to coaching. And it comes down to everybody not named Wade and James. Everybody says that this team will go as far as LeBron James takes him. Well, I'm going to tell you like this. That's what they said about LeBron James in Cleveland. LeBron James in Cleveland was outstanding. The man had the numbers to go with his MVPs. He had the ability to do whatever he wanted to. But the thing is, the cast around him did not step up. He has one legitimate guy on his team in D Wade that can actually help him out. But as it stands right now, the rest of the guys on that team, they're just absolute trash if you by NBA standards. They don't know their roles. They don't come in and contribute on a nightly basis. I don't think that Eric Spoelstra knows how to utilize every guy that he has on the team, because even when you look at their starting lineup, I didn't even know Ronnie Turioff was their starting center. I haven't seen Joel Anthony. He's been absent. I don't know if he's hurt or not. But outside of that, who else do they really have on his team? I think they're too shallow. They rely too much on two guys to do too much. And I think that this will ultimately hurt them when it comes time for the playoffs. Moving on to the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics, to me, are another team that is complete. They have the perimeter defenders. They have the inside presence. Kevin Garnett has shown up. He can battle on the inside. Brandon Bosh can battle on the inside. This guy Stiesma has shown up out of nowhere and just become a legitimate force on the inside for this Boston Celtics team. I'm not calling him a force in the NBA, but for this Boston Celtics team, he goes in and does what he needs to do to get the job done. Rondo, in my opinion, no doubt is an MVP candidate. Without Rondo on this Boston Celtics team, who knows where they will be. Ray Allen is coming off the bench now. Avery Bradley is starting. He's shown himself to be a key contributor on both ends. He moves without the ball. He moves with the ball. He can defend both positions at the point and the two. When you look at their role guys that they have on the team, I mean, I haven't even got to Paul Pierce yet, but Michael Petrus, he's expected to come back from his concussion that he had. I said Brandon Bass, Stiesma. I mean, the team that they have right now is Doc Rivers' coach team. Just like Greg Popovich, a well-respected coach. Doc Rivers gets the most out of his guys. He knows what he needs to do. Paul Pierce has finally started heating up at the right time. Kevin Garnett, they moved him to the center spot. His athleticism, even though it's dwindled now, he can still take other big guys one-on-one and school them in many games. We've seen what he did with Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh is a younger guy, but Kevin Garnett treated him like a little girl out there on the court. I mean, he basically made him do whatever he wanted him to do. Now, the one problem I do see with this Boston Celtics team is the health factor. Kevin Garnett has missed games. Ray Allen, like I said, he's coming off the bench now. They've been the team. They can go. The team can go. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But the injury factor for them is a lot heavier than it is for a team like the San Antonio Spurs, who have been relatively healthy all year, which is surprising to me. We'll see what happens when it comes time for the playoffs. But I think for me personally, Rondo and Bradley, that backcourt is going to be the main factors for that team. Pierce, Garnett, Stiesma, Bass, Petrus, all those guys play off of what happens in their backcourt. Rondo gets things going on both ends of the court, offensively and defensively. These guys, I don't care what they say about Rondo as a hothead, as a temperamental person and all that other stuff. That doesn't matter to me. When I look at Rondo run that offense, they respect Rondo. Rondo knows where guys need to be, and they know where they need to be in order to facilitate around Rondo. When they push the ball, Rondo is one of the most dynamic guys that you can have running up and down that court. When it comes to the half-court offense, they can execute so well because they have plays designed to get guys coming off screens. Rondo, to me, like I said, is the MVP of this team. He could, if it was up to me, I'll vote him. He would get my vote as MVP of the NBA. Because what they have done since the All-Star break, not only at home but going on the road as well, they finally found it. They've clicked. They found that thing that they need in order to move forward into these NBA playoffs. They're the hottest team right now, I believe, heading into these NBA playoffs. And right now, because they have that veteran mentality, they know what it takes to get it all. With Ray Allen coming off the bench, that adds another dynamic to the team because you still got to defend him. I think that the main concern for me with this Boston Celtics team, like I said, is are they a little bit too thin? The depth isn't where it needs to be, but they have guys who can actually go out there and perform on both ends of the court. But the thing is, you want to put all those minutes on those old bodies, which have not been healthy all season long. That is my main concern for them. I'm not saying that they can't go out there and get it done, but the thing is, that health factor for the Boston Celtics is a bigger concern to me than it is for the San Antonio Spurs, because the Spurs are a lot deeper than the Boston Celtics are. And the reason I keep comparing them to the Spurs is because these are the two oldest teams in the NBA right now. But I think the Boston Celtics have enough to get it done. I think that Rondo will, the way that he's playing floor general right now, 10 plus assists in 1,000 straight games or something like that. I don't know. It's been ridiculous for him. But this team is well-oiled. They're well-tuned. They're Doc Rivers' coach. They know what they need to do. Now, moving on to the final team, the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls are number one for one reason in my book. They've proven they can win with and without Derrick Rose. the reigning MVP of the NBA. C.J. Watson, John Lucas, Kyle Korver, Ronnie Brewer, Rip Hamilton, Carlos Boozer, Tobbs Gibson, Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose. There's 9 guys right there that I just named. Just like the Spurs, they're deep, incredibly deep. They know what they need to do to get the job done. The thing about them is it too much to rely on your role players, knowing that there isn't a whole lot that you could do for this team? Oh, Luol Deng, that's another guy I didn't even bring up. Here's my thing with the Chicago Bulls. Half court offensively, when Derrick Rose is in the game, they don't execute a half court offense. Derrick Rose gets the ball, he looks to attack first and pass second. I've always said that Derrick Rose cannot be considered, in my opinion, as a top 3 point guard in this league for the simple fact he cannot pass the ball on a consistent basis. Derrick Rose is a score first guard. I'm not even gonna call him a point guard. He's a score first guard. And I think it relies too much on his shoulders for him to execute this offense, as opposed to somebody like when he's off the court and C.J. Watson is out there running the ball, or John Lucas is out there running the ball at the point guard position. I'm not knocking Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is a tremendous talent, no doubt about it. No doubt in my mind that he's a tremendous talent. But when I look at a guy like Derrick Rose, he's much better coming off the ball. I mean, I'm not saying the man can't create for himself. The man is quick, he's explosive, and all that other stuff. But when you got to get guys like Carlos Boozer involved, Carlos Boozer, you have to set up a guy like Carlos Boozer in order to be effective. You got to set up a guy like a Luol Deng to be effective. You got to set up a guy like a Rip Hamilton to be effective. And Derrick Rose hasn't proven to me that he can do that on a consistent basis. Derrick Rose looks to attack first. That's why he takes so many shots, but they're not always high percentage shots. But the depth on that team, when you take Derrick Rose, last night is a prime example against the Miami Heat. When Derrick Rose was on the floor, the Miami Heat dominated that team. Why? Because all the attention was focused on Derrick Rose, because he looked to attack, he didn't pass the ball, and everybody zeroed in on Derrick Rose. When Derrick Rose came out, they didn't know who to guard. They're so much more of a dynamic team when they're actually sharing the ball around on the perimeter with all the guys that they have. To me, the X factor will be Derrick Rose turning into more of a facilitator than a scorer, because you have so many weapons on this team that can get it done on both ends. Ronnie Brewer can defend, Luol Deng can defend, Derrick Rose can defend, C.J. Watson can defend, Joakim Noah is a defender. All those guys can defend offensively. Luol Deng can score, Derrick Rose can score, C.J. Watson can score, Boozer can score. He's not a defender, but he can score. They have guys, Kyle Korver coming off the bench. You saw what he did last night. The man put it up from anywhere. And I've never seen somebody, I mean, no disrespect to J.J. Redick, my hometown guy here in Orlando, but Kyle Korver is the only person I know that I've seen this year who actually comes off a screen in a shooting form. I mean, the man comes around a pick ready to shoot the ball. I mean, I've never seen somebody who can catch the ball in an already set shooting motion. It's just unbelievable what he did last night and what he's done all season long. But that's outside the point right now. I mean, Kyle Korver, props to you, man. You did a good thing last night. But to me, they can execute in the half court. They can push the ball. They have guys who can do it on both ends of the court. Tom Thibodeau is one of the best coaches in the NBA right now. A lot of people are saying he's coach of the year. I'm giving it to Greg Popovich, in my opinion. He's the best coach in the NBA right now. But when I look at what this team has been able to do with and without Derrick Rose, as it turns into a track meet, if you will, they can get up and down the court with the best of them. When it comes to defense, they do it well. When it comes to rebounding the ball, offensively and defensively, there's not a better team in the NBA right now than them rebounding the ball. And then, like I said, so many weapons and so many guys that can contribute in so many ways. The Chicago Bulls are the complete team that you want to look at in terms of actually going out and winning the championship with the guys that they have right now. But like I said, the difference between them and the San Antonio Spurs, Tony Parker is more willing to give up the ball. He's more willing to facilitate. He's more willing to show guys that he can give them the ball to create for those other guys when need be. Derrick Rose, he looks to attack. We all know that it's a point guard driven league now. With the lack of big men in the NBA, it's a point guard driven league. And right now, they don't have a point guard who can legitimately execute and initiate an offense on a nightly basis, in my opinion. Derrick Rose looks to score first, pass second. I think that will be their downfall in playoffs. But they do have the ability and the talent to get past the Miami Heat. They do have the ability and talent to get past the Boston Celtics. They can beat any other of those bottom 6 teams in the NBA or 5 teams in the NBA, how many ever there are, but in the Eastern Conference. But it all rides on Derrick Rose. I'm not worried about his health right now. His health is not a concern to me. Derrick Rose is last night he showcased that he still has the explosive ability. Thing is, the man is rusty. The man's played 1 game in a month. You can't expect the guy to come back after a month hiatus and be able to just like go out there and just do what he's done all season long. It's not going to happen. My thing is, once Derrick Rose gets in rhythm, his scoring ability will be tremendous to this team, but he needs to learn how to facilitate the offense before he looks to score the ball. I know this has been a long video. Those are my 6 teams, what they need to do, whether they're pluses, they're minuses, going into the playoffs this year. Let me know what you guys think. I know a lot of y'all probably are disagreeing with me right now because a lot of y'all like to ride on LeBron James and Miami Heat harder than Jenna Jameson rode all those guys in her heyday. But here's my thing. To me, San Antonio Spurs, Oklahoma City Thunder, Chicago Bulls, Boston Celtics. Those are my top 4 teams. So those are basically my finals previews, my finals predictions, I guess you can say, as it heads into the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. But ultimately, I think that the San Antonio Spurs have enough to get it done. They stay healthy. They stay consistent. We got to remember, last year they were the best team in the NBA, but Ginobili got hurt at the end. They have so many weapons on that team right now. But I think that, in my opinion, that is the deepest team. That is the best team. They know, every guy on that team knows what they need to do in order to get the job done. San Antonio Spurs, to me, are the best team heading into the playoffs. They don't need home court advantage. They can win both at home and on the road. It's Larry Jenkins, Blazing Sports Report. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down there. Tell me if you agree to disagree. I don't really care, but I like to know what you guys really like to. I really want to know your guys' opinion on this right here. Those are my top 6 teams going into the playoffs right now. I gave you what I told you what I think they need to do and where they stand as it relates to everybody else. Larry Jenkins, Blazing Sports Report. I'll holler at y'all. Peace.